How are you? Welcome back. LANCESCURV here, the LANCESCURV podcast. I had a wonderful day today. I took a long walk in the hot sun around so many countless people. And I observed so much today. And I also had a chance to go deep in thought. And it's so funny, the things that you can come up with when you feel centered and in the moment. You know, I've said this before, so many of us are not in the present. We're not absorbing the maximum pleasure from the present. We're thinking about future, thinking about the past, and not in a way that's conducive to maximizing the moment that you're actually in. I have a thing that I always say, and I've said it before, and you probably heard me say this before. I don't worry about anything. I show concern, and once I've shown enough concern for the day, I go on to enjoy my day. Worry hangs with you all night long. Worry rides you through your sleep, all through your day. And guess what? It's not doing anything for you. So I've learned to be a lot more carefree. I've always been that way, actually, but you can get people around you that try to get you to worry about things and sit back and watch you self-destruct. I know people like that. And I know it really ticks them off when you don't. But growing up from young, I don't know if you know this, but I was once a nerd, and I still am a nerd. I've learned to grow different layers onto my being so I can balance it out. But when left alone, I love all things intelligent. I love to read. I love to research. I love advanced, deep conversations. And being a nerd, I also noticed that there were others who would try to ridicule you and put you down because you wanted to indulge in all things intellectual. And so that was somewhat of a lonely place. It didn't make me lonely, but it was a lonely place for the most part until you got around other people who appreciated your nerdiness. That's why I titled this, The Loneliness of Intelligence in a Mediocre World. The standards of this world pretty much are mediocre. Many of us don't push to go beyond a certain level. We only do just enough to get over, to get a passing mark. I'm not talking about school. I'm just saying in life. It's like we don't have enough people who are looking to excel, but they're just looking to get by. I was reading an article the other day about Japanese culture, and they have their issues over there. The main thing is the perfectionism. They're pushed to work over and above and make things perfect. And this is why there's so many suicides over there, because many of them feel as though they failed when in actuality they may have fallen short of being perfect. But nobody's perfect, and we shouldn't feel that way. And on the other hand, look at a country like America, nobody pushes themselves. Not to the point of wanting to unalive themselves, but most people don't push themselves. They're looking for the easiest route to get to that level of comfort, and that's it. But when you push yourself on an intellectual level, when you crave to learn, like as a child, I always had to have something to read, no matter what it was. I love reading. I love reading about different countries, different cultures, scientific things, spiritual things. I was a sponge that way. And many people were shocked when they found out that I never went to college. You don't have to go to college to become or hone your intelligence, or your education rather, because intelligence is different than education. Education is programming. Intelligence is something innate. Something that you have, something that you can look at a dog. Certain dogs you look at and you can look in their eyes and look right back at you, and I'm quite sure you've experienced this, and you can see the intelligence and understanding in their eyes. So it's not just relegated to going to school, because I haven't seen a dog go to school yet. But that place can be lonely. And that is a truth most people sense but refuse to say out loud. That intelligence is not admired the way people pretend it is. It's resisted. It's quietly rejected. And oftentimes, it's hated. And I've experienced that many times. Made fun of, hated on, because you'd rather read a book, or you speak a certain way, or you have a certain accent. It's amazing how the insecurities of people run deep. See, as a society, we like to claim we value smart people, but our actions tell a different story. The moment someone enters a room with sharper thinking, deeper insight, or clearer understanding, the atmosphere changes. Conversations shift. Defenses rise. Something feels uncomfortable, even if no one admits it. That discomfort doesn't come from arrogance or attitude. It comes from comparison. See, intelligence exposes gaps. It highlights what others struggle to see or explain. And that exposure feels personal, even when it isn't meant to be. Most people don't seek truth. They seek emotional safety. They want ideas that confirm what they already believe, not ideas that challenge them. Intelligence does the opposite. It questions. It pokes holes. It removes comforting illusions. This is why intelligence is rarely welcomed. It doesn't soothe the ego. It threatens it. And human beings will protect their ego at all costs. It's a funny thing because I was in a group, well, not a group, but had individuals around me. And one would always cut me off in the conversation. As soon as I uttered 2 words, and I wasn't dominating, I was very quiet most of the time, would always cut me off. And after I thought about it, I realized that that was insecurity. The man had a speech impediment. The man really didn't have a pleasing voice. And he seemed to want to talk, but it wasn't any particular thing of importance. It was just like, I'm going to keep talking so nobody else can talk. And some people do that because of an extreme inferiority and feeling less than, and afraid that someone else will speak, make sense, and captivate those around them. And that, to this day, is the assessment that I was spot on about. That thing called intelligence can really cause people to jump through hoops. Now, I'm not saying I'm intelligent. I'm not saying I'm the smartest, but I know I can communicate well. We'll leave it at that. But I've often had problems with people who sensed that, didn't like it, and did everything that they could to snuff it out. I could tell you some stories about that. When someone is clearly more perceptive, it creates an internal problem for others. not because the intelligent person did anything wrong, but because their presence becomes a mirror. And many people do not like what they see in that reflection. Instead of learning, people defend themselves. Instead of rising, they discredit. Labels appear quickly. Arrogant, cold, overthinking. These words are not descriptions. They're shields. They protect self-esteem from admitting inferiority, because that's exactly what it is. If someone cannot match your thinking, the easiest move is to make your thinking look like a flaw. Suddenly, intelligence becomes a problem instead of an ability. Depth becomes negativity. Precision becomes arrogance. This is why failure in intellect is quietly celebrated. It feels like relief. It restores balance. If they fail too, then maybe the gap isn't real. Maybe no one was ever above anyone else after all. But intelligence is disruptive by nature. It questions what others accept without thinking. It notices contradictions people ignore to stay comfortable. It asks questions no one wants to answer. The crowd doesn't want clarity. It wants reassurance. It wants to be told that everything is fine, that its beliefs make sense, that its routines are justified. Intelligence interrupts that fantasy. That interruption is not forgiven. Intelligence isolates by default, not because intelligent people choose isolation, but because they don't fit easily into shallow spaces and systems. Surface level conversations feel exhausting. Repeated opinions feel hollow. Group thinking feels dishonest. A sharp mind sees cracks everywhere. In institutions, in relationships, in traditions. That awareness does not turn off when it's inconvenient. It follows you everywhere. This is why intelligent people are often misunderstood. Their seriousness is mistaken for pride. Their clarity is mistaken for judgment. Their silence is mistaken for superiority. Many intelligent people try to adapt. They speak less. They simplify their thoughts. They pretend not to know what they know, all to avoid tension, all to blend in. But shrinking yourself has a cost. When you deny your nature long enough, something inside breaks. You lose respect for yourself. You begin to resent the very people you're trying to please. The world rewards obedience, not clarity. It promotes those who repeat instructions, not those who question them. Systems prefer people who follow rules, not people who examine whether those rules make sense. That's why intelligence often stalls careers instead of advancing them. Questioning threatens comfort, and comfort always outranks truth in rigid systems. One of the most effective ways society neutralizes intelligence is ridicule. Speak precisely, and you're pretentious. Speak logically, and you're cold. Stay emotionally controlled, and you're heartless. The message is clear. Think less, feel more, and don't make anyone uncomfortable. This pressure works. Many intelligent people learn to hide. They downplay their abilities. They avoid standing out. They trade honesty for acceptance. But resentment doesn't disappear. It festers because the rejection was never about behavior. It was about difference. Hatred toward intelligence is rooted in fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of being outmatched. Fear of discovering that effort alone cannot close every gap. Some differences are real. Some minds simply operate on deeper levels. Admitting that shatters the comforting idea that everyone is equal in ability. And most people would rather reject intelligence than accept limitation. So the narrative flips. Mediocrity becomes humility. Intelligence becomes arrogance. The roles reverse, and the lie feels safer than the truth. If you're average, there's no shame in that. The shame comes from pretending otherwise while resenting those who aren't. And if you are intelligent, stop looking for validation from people who cannot offer it. They are not your audience. They never were. Your path will be quieter. Your recognition may come late, if at all, but integrity lasts longer than applause. The real tragedy is not that intelligence is rejected. It's that intelligent people abandon themselves to avoid rejection. Truth does not comfort. It clarifies, and clarity is often lonely, but it's also freeing. You don't owe the world your silence. You owe yourself honesty. Intelligence makes people uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It exposes laziness. It reveals contradictions. And it refuses to lie for the sake of peace. That is why it is resisted. That is why it is mocked. That is why it is isolated. But without intelligence, nothing moves forward. Nothing improves. Nothing evolves. If you think deeply, accept the cost. Depth demands distance. Clarity demands courage. You don't need mass approval. You need inner alignment, because in the end, it's better to be rejected for who you are than accepted for who you are not. And the truth, even when it hurts, is always worth it. So in a dumbed down world, you don't have to reduce yourself. You don't have to feel chastised or odd or bad for who you are. If you happen to be very intelligent, you're going to have to learn to also protect yourself and never reduce yourself. Never reduce yourself to feel or make others feel that you're not a threat. Because see, they chose to stay in that place. They refused to absorb knowledge. They refused to see that the world is bigger than the little world that they're in. People do this on purpose. They shut down any semblance of understanding that the world is a very big place and there's so much to learn. And it's very humbling, as it should be. But if you see someone who loves to expand their mind, loves to see over the horizon and past the horizon, to grow in their awareness, how dare you, in your stagnated, ignorant state, seek to shut them down? Because you're already shut down. You're already limited. You're already basically going nowhere in your awareness of the world around you to be able to enjoy it even more so. The more I learn, the more I realize I don't know as much as I thought I did. And that keeps me going. It's exciting to wake up every single day knowing that you're going to learn something different. Knowing that you're going to be a better person by the end of the day than you were when you woke up. Some people despise that thought. Some people love stagnation. And I'm sorry, if a person is that way, who wants to live a limited existence, then I can't be around them too long. I can't shrink myself down to make them feel better because of their lack of drive to expand and grow. I can't do it. So with those words being said, try to understand what's around you and the little games that people play because of your intelligence. Intelligence is not a sin, it's not a crime, but it's very uncomfortable for many people. It gets them very emotional, just your very presence alone. Even when you choose to be silent, they wonder what you're thinking. They don't want you to share what you're thinking because it may show up how ignorant they are. Let's just put it out there like it is. And I see this happen a lot with children. How they're bullied for learning and wanting to know more and revealing the fact that they are very intelligent. Protect your children in these schools. Protect your children in their friendships. Because they can have friendships that are highly toxic. And you have to be able to discern that and look over the time they spend with their friends. And reinforce the confidence within them. Reinforce the fact that they're all worthy and they're doing the right thing by expanding their mind. Because you'll find that children who come from negative households with negative rhythms will try to dump that stuff on your child. Just the same way you have grown folks who try to dump it off on you because of their insecurities. No, like I always like to say, well, we are not put on this earth to babysit another person's insecurity. If you can't admit that you feel inferior for some reason and choose to work on it, what can I do to help you? If there's a problem there, the first step is admitting that you have a problem. But most would rather throw off on those publicly, smear them, say things about them, gossip about them, simply because they feel inadequate within themselves. And that's a very common thing. And it can make a difference in someone's life if you don't catch it, especially with our children. So make sure to be aware of this. And when you are, you're going to realize there's a lot of work out there to do with people around you and with people around your children. I hope you got something from these words. I really enjoy speaking these things that I've learned, and it's always a pleasure to vibe with you. I am so relaxed, you just don't know. That sunlight beat me down in a good way today while I was walking. I walked many miles today. I covered so much ground, so I'm in the zone right now. As a matter of fact, there's more stuff that I want to do tonight, and I'm just going to keep the work flowing. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to know that you're here with me. And that's the biggest gift of all. So in closing, I want to thank you all very much for being here. Leave your feedback. Let me know what you think about these words. And we're on to the next one. And again, like I always say, make sure to subscribe to LANCESCURVX.com. You'll get all the content there. You subscribe by entering your email so that everything that's done here goes into your inbox. And these social media platforms who try to limit you and not give you notifications, it can't stop what we do. And you'll get everything in your inbox. So it cuts that game that they play. Anyway, much love to you all. LANCESCURV out. Peace.